the riots were one example of hatred, weren't they? But it's not the only example of hatred. Since the riots, there have continued to be more hatred, more discrimination. As somebody who's lived in the Northeast for several decades now, just watching this, I'm thinking, what just happened on our watch? We can't sit and wait for something else to happen. We can't wait for people to be beaten up, people potentially to be killed, whilst we're sitting here watching.
We know racism exists and has existed for a long time, and we all have strong intentions, or many of us have strong intentions perhaps, to do something around that, but we've seen this as a call to action to do something different in response to it.
Here in the Northeast, what can we do together that is for the Northeast, by the Northeast?
Hello and welcome to channelTBX. My name is Agatha, and today I am joined with Ngozi and Mark, who are going to explain who they are so that I don't make any mistakes and who they are and what they do. So Mark, who are you? Who do you work for the audience knowing you better?
Thank you. Hi, Mark Davis. I'm the Chief Executive of an organisation called Middlesbrough Voluntary Development Agency, and we primarily work to support people to do good things in the communities, so supporting people who want to come together and make a difference in the communities, supporting charities to be the best version that they can be, and the like, and also do lots of amazing things that just supports Middlesbrough, the South Tees and the North East more generally.
Oh, thank you. Over to you, Ngozi.
Thank you. Hi, Agatha. My name is Ngozi Lynn Cole. I have a portfolio of work now. So I work as an executive coach and a leadership catalyst. And I have a number of other responsibilities. For example, I'm Vice Chair of the South Tyneside and Sunderland NHS Foundation Trusts. And I also chair a coalition called the Justice Together Initiative, which is a partnership of the Northeast Law Centre, the West End Refugee Service, Northeast Refugee Service, Justice First, and a couple of other organizations working in the field of immigration and advice for refugees and people seeking asylum. And I do a number of other things, so that's probably enough for now.
So thank you very much. So good to know you. Okay, so I know we are here concerning an project that you are doing, and I know it as NEAR Coalition. If you could please explain what NEAR Coalition is and how that came about, why you've started that project.
Okay, so the Northeast Anti-Racism Coalition started last September. So it was really on the back of the riots which we all saw, which there was one right in Middlesbrough in which we're sitting. But I just remember, as somebody who's lived in the Northeast for several decades now, just watching this, I'm thinking, what just happened on our watch, and how do we stop something like this happening again? So I guess we had a period of reflection, and then Mark and I had a conversation, joined by Jill Baker, who's also a member of the planning group, and we thought, well, we just can't sit and wait for something else to happen. We can't wait for people to be beaten up, people potentially to be killed, whilst we're sitting here watching. So whilst a lot of work has been happening in this space, and Women Today has been doing a lot of work, as has Sticks and Stones, MVD has been doing phenomenal work in this space, we're still in a position where something like this happens on our watch. So we thought, actually, we need to do something. We need to get together, find like-minded people, and really have a good think about what it is we need to do just to avoid something like this happening. I mean, the riots were one example of hatred, weren't they? But it's not the only example of hatred. Since the riots, there have continued to be more hatred, more discrimination. And it was just a chance to just say, okay, here in the Northeast, what can we do together that is for the Northeast, by the Northeast?
Okay.
I mean, the riots were one example of hatred, weren't they? But it's not the only example of hatred. Since the riots, there have continued to be more hatred, more discrimination. And it was just a chance to just say, okay, here in the Northeast, what can we do together that is for the Northeast, by the Northeast?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is just talking to lots of people working, doing good stuff in communities to support people in communities to be better, and just the complete horror and the absolute fear that came from the experiences of last summer. And for the days and the weeks after that Sunday event, just remember hearing some really tough stories from people running organisations locally, whether that's community groups, charities, and also the people that they're there to serve. And those horror stories being things around people who were feeling too vulnerable and not able to go out of the houses for quite some time. Stories of people who have been born and grown up in the area, feeling as though they don't belong, feeling as though there was just a complete hammer thrown through society and cracking society. So I think the impact was a wake-up call to some extent in terms of the conversations that then followed and the formation of the coalition around. We know racism exists and has existed for a long time, and we all have strong intentions, or many of us have strong intentions perhaps, to do something around that, but we've seen this as a call to action to do something different in response to it. And that wasn't a single story, so I can talk about my experiences here in Middlesbrough, but my colleagues who run organisations like ours across the rest of the North East region, but also across the whole of the UK, we were sharing similar stories for quite some time after. So I think the impact on organisations, seeing some people up there to support vulnerable people in need, just really fearful about being able to meet their needs, what was coming next, the uncertainty, the significant disruption, and the like. So I think wide-ranging impact, but also at the same time seeing the amazing efforts from local charities, community groups and others coming together to show a united front was also encouraging. But that's not enough in our view to be able to really get beneath the surface and respond and deal to some of those issues, and how we can create better and stronger connections. How do we build bridges, not walls? Those kinds of things.
I know you've just said that this started last summer. So how visible is NEAR coalition within Middlesbrough? I can't speak for other parts of the Northeast. I'll speak for Middlesbrough. How visible is NEAR now? Do a lot of organizations know who you are? How do people get in contact with you? Who can get in contact with you? Who can ask for help? Is it just organizations or individuals as well who are able to come to you and say, this is what's going on?
Well, the first thing to say is that it's early days for us, so we're just starting out. We're in the process of developing a website, but this is a coalition for everybody. So we're interested in individuals, we're interested in organizations, really anybody who wants the Northeast to be anti-racist, anti-Islamophobia, anti-hatred of any sort. Whoever you are, we're interested in speaking to you. So the quickest way to get in touch with us now is to email our colleague Louise, and she's on hello, HALLO, at Lyncole, lyncole.org.uk, and she'll email you the link. So have a landing page where people can go and subscribe. We've got a presence on LinkedIn, on X, and on Facebook. So we're starting out, but we're hoping within the next month or so to have a website and to start to actually increase our visibility. I think the big reason for that is that we're all doing this as volunteers now, and all of us have really busy jobs. So we're kind of doing this alongside, but that's because we're so passionate about it. But we've been lucky enough to secure a bit of funding now that should enable us to set up things like a website and start to work to increase our visibility.
Okay, that's right. Concerning coalition, how does NEAR collaborate with other organizations or community groups within Middlesbrough working on anti-racism or related issues?
I think the key thing probably to say is that the North East Anti-Racism Coalition isn't planning to deliver and do the kinds of things that other people are doing. It's about amplifying the voice, it's about bringing together our collective efforts, about creating a coalition of the willing, creating an army of people that want to move change at pace kind of stuff. So this isn't about the coalition coming in and doing anything specific within communities where there might already be things that are happening. We have said that we will start to think about the opportunity of the coalition being able to support capacity building work to some extent. So maybe some opportunities to develop some more networks, maybe he's in Middlesbrough, maybe he's in a bigger geographical area. So that's the kind of approach that we're taking. We've largely been focused on our work so far about 6 public open events, 6 big events, 1 in Middlesbrough in December, and our intention is to move those events around the region. So we're covering the whole of the North East region, the various local authority areas. And as I say, we had one in Middlesbrough in December with around about 100 people in the town hall, a good mix of people from community organisations, colleagues from public bodies, funders, community activists, businesses, various people, and we will be building on that by doing more work, including our next event, which is in Hartlepool, so not too far from here, on the 16th of June. And in addition to that, there's several working groups which give opportunity for people to be engaged and work with others from across the region on some issues of shared concerns, some shared priorities, and start to move those things forward. And then there's also a few people from Middlesbrough, a few people working in Middlesbrough that have been particularly active behind the scenes, working with myself in Ngozi and others on the planning group to be able to just make some of this happen and keep the wheels moving forward.
Okay, that's cool. So what kind of impact has NIA all had, or do you intend on having, on anti-racism and anti-Muslim efforts? Yes, to within the community relations in Middlesbrough. Do you have any particular events that you are targeting on doing that would bring the awareness and to the community?
So as Mark was saying, it's really the events we're doing now. And the next one, to repeat, is Hartlepool, 16th of June, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we'd love to see people there. So we'd very much love people to sign up and come and join us. Yes. So I suppose that is about raising awareness, really. So there are a couple of things we're doing. So Mark has mentioned our 4 working groups. There's one on community engagement. So we want to engage with the local communities. We want to talk to everybody, not just people impacted by racism or people who might have been perpetrators of the violence themselves or people who supported that. We all live and work in the Northeast. So hopefully nobody wants to live in a region free of hate. So something on community engagement. We want to do something around learning and awareness. So at the moment, some people are saying to us, we don't know what you mean by anti-racism. By the way, what we mean is that we're asking people not to be non-racist, which is, I don't do anything racist, I don't say anything racist, but I'm not doing anything else, thank you. So actually be anti-racist, where you are more actively fighting against racism, trying to dismantle the structures that are keeping racism alive. So that's the second one, learning and awareness. Third one is comms. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, all sorts of misinformation. One of the best ones I heard was somebody said she was in Tesco and she saw somebody who seemed to be a non-white person. She assumed it was somebody who was seeking asylum, and this person filled their trolley with everything they wanted. They just got to the till and they told them they were a person seeking asylum and they didn't have to pay. They were just allowed to leave the supermarket. And I said, I can assure you that that is not true. I have never seen anything like that happen before. But there are powerful voices that are spreading all of this mess. So we want to do some positive communications around that.
Okay.
And the fourth one is something around accountability and commitment. So we really want the leaders of all organizations, all communities to be part of this. Because if the leaders consider this important, then other people will too. So we want to develop some kind of pledge that people can sign up to be anti-racist. Not just words on a page that doesn't mean anything, real meaningful action, supported by tools, by techniques, by hints and tips, and spaces where people can engage. So we think if we do those 4 things, community engagement, learning and awareness, communications, commitment and accountability, will at least lay the right foundations for a Northeast. And that's where the impact will come from. And the impact is not now. We'd like to get some wins, in the next few months. August will be a year since the riots. But we're looking at this as something long time, something that will outlive us all. And we'll have a colleague that talks about, this is about future generations, not just us. So the impact for us is the Northeast, where people feel safe, where people don't feel they can't leave their homes, where people are not going to be worried that somebody will set up a border in the middle of Middlesbrough and only let certain cars in if you're a particular color when you're driving it, where people can really thrive and we can all enjoy, not just from a social perspective, but actually economically. This should be so much better for us as a region.
Okay. I know that a long time ago, the demographic of Middlesbrough has completely changed. Now, with the new demographic that you have, how do you see this impacting the community? Like you said, you wanted to take a shorter time, than too long for it to be able to make the impact. Do you think with the demographic that's around now, it will be something that can be achieved quite quickly or too long? And also, what hurdles have you faced so far, or do you think could be the barriers in making this work?
I guess I'm thinking just around, if anti-racism was an easy thing to have achieved, then it would have been done by now. So I think it's in that context. I think from where I'm sitting and the work that I'm involved in the various conversations that I get to have with various people running community groups, in decision-making groups and everything in between, I think there's some amazing work going on across all parts of communities in Middlesbrough and across the wider region, obviously. So we know that there's amazing things happening within people's own communities, whether that's people within a particular place or identity or interests. And I think we're keen, certainly at MVDA, to do more to help those organisations to be the best version of themselves, to do more good things. But also I think in terms of thinking around the coalition, how do we help to shine a spotlight on that good work? And I think about the principles of community development and the notion of you start with what's strong, not necessarily what's wrong. So I think there's lots of things that are strong, that are here serving our communities across Middlesbrough and reflecting the different demographics. But also I think there's lots more that people want to do. And I think for us there's a challenge around how can we help to play our small part in making some of that a reality. So I think that's kind of a broad thing. I think in terms of the impact of the coalition so far, and Ngozi has shared the working groups and the longer term aspirations, I think creating the space for some conversations is a really helpful starting point. So getting the opportunity to spend some time every couple of months with 100, 120, 150 people to really chew through the fat on some of these quite complex, deeply embedded issues is in itself really powerful. And we are hearing feedback from some colleagues around how being part of the coalition so far in its infancy has been powerful to bring about some positive changes in developing different policies and procedures, or thinking about new projects and connecting with new people. So I think that's really important stuff that we want to keep hold of and still create the space for more of that to happen. And I think it's really important that we make sure we do that in addition to, not instead of, everything else that's going on. Because what we don't want to do is to be getting in the way of the good things that are already happening. What we want to do is try and create a space to connect a bit more and to amplify our collective voices on some of those issues.
Okay. Have we had any hurdles so far?
Some hurdles so far. I think the biggest thing I would relate to, the biggest hurdle is around just recognising how challenging it is to deal with the issue of anti-racism and the division that exists within some of our communities, and thinking that the starting point, maybe naively, for me, the starting point was kind of thinking I was here, but actually it's much further back. So I think that's just a general reflection. I think we're still in that very early stages. With the coalition, it's been about 9 months or so since we came together properly. So we're still, to some extent, enjoying being able to figure out the path. And if we do get some hurdles, we think, well, that's okay. We can just follow up another opportunity and take another path. So I think there are things that are there. I have no doubt that more hurdles will be coming our way, particularly as we get more established and the work becomes more visible within the different conversations. But I also think I need to recognise that for me, as a white person, some of the hurdles that I'll face wouldn't be the same as people of colour and the like. And I think that's just really important to recognise that those differences are very much at play, not by intention, but it's quite visible, the privilege. Yeah.
Okay. Talking about the people that you want to impact, Who is your target audience?
We're looking at the target audience, the people we want to be part of the coalition, being anybody who's committed to being on the journey of the North East as a whole, so including Middlesbrough, but including all of the other places across the region, being anti-racist, and dealing with the anti-Muslim hate and being just more inclusive generally. So I think if people are up for being part of the challenge, part of the solution to being able to work towards those shared goals, then that's the target audience. We're not trying to segment people into kind of particular boxes or saying we're targeting particular people. I suspect personally, we haven't really discussed this in a lot of detail, that over the coming months, coming years, there'll be more of a conversation to think about, well, actually who we're not engaging with, who aren't engaging with us, what do we need to do around that. We know that as a planning group we'll have particular strengths, particular contacts that we can explore and work with. So I think there's all of that's kind of stuff to come. But people like community groups working in Middlesbrough, people who are living in Middlesbrough, businesses that are working in Middlesbrough and operating in Middlesbrough, local authorities, the NHS, charities, like, you know, we're kind of wanting to be all inclusive in that context.
I don't know if you remember the last time we met at one of the projects that you were holding to do with equality and diversity. Mm-hmm. I know we also spoke about racism on that in the lessons. There's a lady in particular who I was sitting on the same table with, who mentioned that her son, who was I think 5 or 6, actually had an awareness of what racism was at that particular age because of the riots. Is there anything you're doing in particular to target the younger generation? Because if we look at the riots, it was mainly adults who were there. But the young people, the children in their primary schools or high schools were watching this. And, you know, it's something either they experienced, felt, or even got a shock of this thing is happening. So is there a way that you are thinking of targeting also the audience of the younger generation so that they would not grow up to have to face the same thing that's going on now or do the same thing that went on now, but actually to change that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, whilst it was predominantly adults rioting, there were children there as well. I think the youngest person sentenced was 12 or something ridiculous like that. So it really starts at a very young age. Now we want to get into schools. We want to figure out how we can engage with young audiences, just as you say. So they have an awareness of racism. I don't know if you've seen the video called The Doll Test. It's such a powerful video. I'll send it to you. But it shows how at a very young age, children are being taught by us, adults in society, to think that one race is better than the other. And you can see children selecting, you know, dolls that look like them and labeling them as bad. So we're teaching them something, and you can see it in the media. It's actually quite a powerful message that is being sent out there. But the second thing I want to say is we're carrying out some research into how racism manifests in the Northeast. So we're about to commission that to understand it. And then we're also trying to learn from organizations that have done similar work before. So there's a group called Time to Change that ran a campaign around mental health. Over 15 or 20 years ago, it was really long, but 20 years ago, mental health wasn't talked about. You didn't say, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling anxious, and this and that, because there was a big stigma around mental health in society. So this campaign ran over a long period of time to start to change the attitude so that we can now talk about it more openly today. And a lot of their work involved young people as well as older people. So we're hoping to do that as well. Quite how we do it, we haven't figured out yet. But I know when I think about my grandchildren that are 9 and 6, if you can get into the minds of kids at that age, then we have a hope in 10 or 15 years when they're growing up and they're adults to actually have a different way of thinking than maybe older people like me.
Yeah.
There's also something in there about, in addition to schools, which is really important, there are thousands of schools across the whole of the North East, many schools in Middlesbrough, and there's some amazing things that schools already are doing out there to support the developing of understanding, to explore critical theory, etc. But also in addition to that, I think youth work is a really powerful opportunity opportunity, and I'm pleased that there's a large and growing number of people who are youth workers or support community projects working with young people that are involved in the coalition, either through being at events or being part of the working groups. But quite clearly there's a lot more to be done, and we also know that a lot of young people in response to the riots came out and were kind of quite defensive about actually this isn't how young people really do think. So I think there's still a lot to unpick around those issues, but I think there's a good opportunity there that goes beyond schools and youth work, but all sorts of different ways to reach young people.
I think I've asked as many questions as I can. Is there anything else concerning the work that you do that you would want people to know that I haven't tried to cover? Some things that I wanted to ask, like you said, you're still too young, so for me to be asking about your strategies and all these things, you're still in the development process.
We're working on it.
So is there anything that you would want your audience to know about why, or anything about the New Coalition?
Yeah, a couple of things I think from me. One is for some of the people who are listening or watching this, I think if there's interest in doing something and being active around it, then we could always maybe help to signpost people or connect people to existing work that's going on, or if there's groups of people that are interested in doing something new, we can maybe think about how we can help them to respond to that, so people can get in touch with me or colleagues at NVDA specifically in terms of Middlesbrough, and if there's people outside of the area that want to connect to the equivalent of NVDA in other areas, then we can do that too. So I think that's one thing. And I think the other thing is just in terms of if people are wanting to be part of the coalition, there's a perfect opportunity with the event that we've mentioned, 16th of June, 1 till 4 p.m. in Hartlepool, but also just more generally, and we're always happy to hear from people who, we're getting requests on an occasional basis from people saying, I'm interested and I might be able to offer this as a skill, and I might be interested in doing that, or I'd like to be part of the conversation. So people can get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to think about how we can help to make that happen.
Thank you.
For me, a number of things. First of all, why? So we know that systemic inequities exist in our society. We've been talking about riots, but they're not the only thing. If you're a black woman, you're 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than if you're a white woman. If you're a young black man, black people make up 4% of the population, but 12% of the prison population. It's in housing, it's in criminal justice. Everywhere you look, there's a lot of discrimination. This is costing us. It's costing us economically. People are not investing their money here. It's costing us on health. It's costing us as a society. And if we don't do anything, this will just continue to get really bad. And it might get to the point where people will die. So for me, really, if I speak to camera, if you're a young person that wants to live and work in the Northeast, in Middlesbrough and other parts of the Northeast, this coalition is for you. Come and join us. If you're a young parent, as you are, Agatha, this coalition is for you. Come and join us. If you're an older person, a grandparent, this is for you. If you're a leader of an organization in the voluntary, public, private sector, this is for you as well. Anybody who really cares about the Northeast and wants to live in a region free of hate, free of Islamophobia, and free of racism, this is for you. So please come and join us. You can email us at hello@linco.org.uk. Please join us so that we can make this a better region where there is solidarity, where we can all live and work together in peace and harmony.
So, thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming this afternoon. We really appreciate you being here, and we do want to make sure that we see the change in Middlesbrough, because this is where we live now. This is where we want to grow older and stuff. So we would want to see the beautiful change. Absolutely. And create an environment and a community where our grandchildren will be able to rise as well. Exactly. And I also know that because of the university, we've got a lot of people coming into Middlesbrough, and you don't want Middlesbrough to have a name that's not right. Yeah. Want it to be a place where people are happy to come to you and know that, there's so much opportunities within Middlesbrough that they can have. So thank you so much for joining us. We will put all the information on the handle as well as on the screens for you to be able to contact our guests today and make sure that you are part of what's going on in Middlesbrough. We want to be a voice that brings change here in this Middlesbrough. And so thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. And from me and channelTBX, thank you for watching. Have a good day.
Thank you.